Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today in this video, I am going to be reacting to book-related posts from the subreddit, Am I the A-hole? Now, this is not a wholly original idea. Other people on BookTube have done this before, but I personally always enjoy watching these videos, and I always like reading posts from this subreddit, so I thought I would make my own version and share my opinions. For those of you who don't know, Am I the A-hole is a Reddit group where people can make posts about situations they were in to get the public's opinion about whether or not they were the a-hole in the situation. It is basically a court of public opinion where Reddit users get to decide who in the situation was in the wrong. Today I am going over 4 posts from the Am I the A-hole subreddit that are book-related in some way. Now, there are 4 different verdicts you can give in the Am I the A-hole subreddit. The first, you are the a-hole. You are saying the person who wrote the post is wrong in the situation and the other person's feelings are justified. Not the a-hole. This is the opposite, where you are saying that the poster was not in the wrong, but the other person was. You can also say no a-holes here. Basically, everybody's feelings and actions in this situation are understandable. There is no one who is clearly in the wrong in this situation. Or you can also say everyone sucks here, which basically just means everybody in this situation made bad decisions and they are all partially to blame. So I think that is all I needed to set up for this. Let's go into the 4 posts I picked out. And once you're done watching, make sure to let me know in the comment section what your judgments are for each of these 4 scenarios. I would really be interested to hear your thoughts and if your opinions line up with mine or not. First, this post was just from 1 day ago. Am I the a-hole for expecting an apology from my girlfriend for indirectly ruining one of my books? My girlfriend, 34 female, and I, 31 male, share a flat, and for the last few years, my girlfriend has stored a can of Coke with her name in one of our shared bookshelves. This morning, I discovered that the can had started to leak, most likely due to temperature variations, I'd assume, and while cleaning it up, I noticed that one of my books is ruined. When I showed my girlfriend the leak and the damage on the book, she basically said, "What a pity." I didn't press the subject immediately, but a few hours later, I told her it would have been nice to hear her say that she is sorry that my book is ruined. She refused to and claims it is not her fault, as she could not have expected the can to start leaking. I kind of agree in the sense that I would not have expected the can to start leaking either, but I just know that if the situation would be reversed and something I owned somehow damaged one of her books, I would be mortified and thinking very hard about how I could replace the book or otherwise make it up to her. When I told her so, she let me know that she thinks I'm out of my mind if I expect an apology for what happened. I am aware this is a minor issue, but I'm annoyed how she completely refused to see my point of view. Since she was not receptive at all, I told her we would talk about it later, and she said something along the lines of, "Let's not, it's not worth it for this BS." Now I'm even more pissed off and we're not on speaking terms right now. Am I overreacting? Am I the a-hole? My camera fell over, so sorry if the angle is now drastically different. But I have to say, for this one, it's pretty easy in my opinion, not the a-hole. The official verdict agrees with me. Look, he didn't even ask the girlfriend to replace the book. He just wanted her to show an ounce of sympathy for him, and that is apparently too much for her. She shows an utter disregard for his feelings, and I just really think it seems like she would not be a good person to be in a relationship with based on this post. I mean, if somebody comes to me, somebody I care about, and they tell me about something unfortunate that's happened to them, my response is always, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," even if their misfortune has nothing to do with me. You know why? Because that's called showing compassion and empathy. sympathy towards people you care about. I don't know, like, the least she could have done in this situation was say, oh my God, I'm so sorry that happened. But she shows absolutely no sympathy for him. If it were me, I would apologize, even though I didn't do it intentionally, and offer to replace the book. Yeah, not the a-hole here. Girlfriend 100% is the a-hole. Next post. Am I the a-hole for wanting to read Harry Potter to my daughter? My wife and I are currently fighting right now over my reading aloud to my daughter. My daughter is 8 years old, and I am currently on the 3rd Harry Potter book with her. We started reading them together last year. I have explained to my wife that it brings me joy, and my daughter likes me to read to her. It is bonding time between her and I. My wife wants my daughter to be reading at her reading level books that my daughter has picked out. She wants my daughter to not be dependent on me reading to her. At school, her math is her best score. Grammar and reading are average in the class. This came to a head last night when I had gone to the park with my daughter and came back home, and my 8-year-old wanted me to read Harry Potter to her. My wife brought up the normal complaints that my daughter should read on her own. My wife is upset that my daughter has not been motivated to read her library books that she brought home from school. My wife states that the only reading source that she wants is Harry Potter at nighttime. I was upset because I feel like this is my time with my daughter. I sometimes work nights, and my wife states my daughter gets whiny when she doesn't have dad reading to her at night. She states that my daughter didn't want to finish her library books unless my wife is strict with her to read the books. My daughter has just finished an 11-chapter book and wanted to have the whole series. I believe that reading to my daughter is good for bonding and doesn't diminish her reading time on her own. Am I the a-hole for stating that I will continue reading to her even if my wife wants it to stop? My wife thinks I am creating a dependent reader, and it is my taste, not my daughter's. FYI, I have never read Harry Potter. Is it worth it to give up the bonding and reading time with my daughter to trade for my daughter independent reading? I'll be honest and say when I originally read the title of this post, I was assuming that the issue was going to be more so due to J.K. Rowling's transphobia, but since that's not the issue, I will put that aside and just evaluate the situation as given. And I have to say, I do not think that this poster is the a-hole. I have a lot of questions. First of all, the poster says that they have been reading this book with their daughter they started the series last year. So I don't really know what the wife is thinking. Like, yeah, if you started reading a series of books with your child, she's gonna get invested and want to read the entire series. If she had such a problem with this parent reading to the child, why is she only bringing it up now and not when this idea first cropped up? And it seems like the parent did not force the kid to read Harry Potter because the poster says they'd never even read it before. So I would interpret that as the daughter was interested in Harry Potter and wanted to read it. If your kid is interested in a book and they're really excited about reading it, that is definitely something you should encourage. And I think the wife being, quote, strict with the daughter to get her to read the books that the wife and daughter picked out of the library is going to be very detrimental as a whole. It's going to make reading feel like a chore to the child instead of fostering a genuine love of reading. If your kid really is excited about a book and they want to read it, just let them read the book. You can't force them to read what you want them to read because that's just going to quash that love of reading before it even starts. Plus, I know that when I was a child, I would read books with my dad before bedtime. He used to read me stories out of these Disney storybooks, and those were really special memories for me. And I think this parent reading to the child before bedtime is a great thing. It could really foster a lifelong love of reading in the child. And if the mother is worried about the child not reading independently, okay, when you're reading Harry Potter, just hold the book so that she can see the pages and maybe follow along with your finger so that she can read along and maybe learn some new words. I really don't see what the problem is here. Mom is absolutely being the a-hole in this situation. Let's look at some of the replies. The top comment says, not the a-hole, you're helping your daughter get a love of book. I think that's a typo. You're bonding, you're spending good time together, you are not hurting her reading ability in any way. I totally agree. This commenter says, he said that his daughter just finished an 11-chapter book and wanted to get the whole series, which is why she has library books out. Sounds like she likes reading independently too. I think there's more going on here. When he works nights, he says that her daughter whines for her mom to read to her. She's 8 and it's a part of her routine. I bet if the mom read to her a bit at bedtime, she would then read independently after. I loved my dad reading to me, but after a chapter or so, he'd say he's tired and then I'd go back to bed and read myself to sleep. Sad that the mom is putting so much pressure on reading. Yeah, and also, this made me wonder, I wonder if the mom is potentially jealous that the kid enjoys her dad, presumably. I don't think the poster ever said their gender, but possibly dad. Perhaps it really bothers the mom on some level that the daughter loves her dad reading to her and wants her dad. And I wonder if maybe that makes the mom insecure. And so instead of communicating that, she's just trying to squash this activity that her daughter loves altogether. I mean, I don't know this mother, so that could be entirely wrong, but the comment just made me wonder that. I really think if the mom wants to help her daughter read independently, she needs to have a much more positive attitude, because right now she is not helping her daughter's love of reading or her own relationship with her daughter. I want to see if I can find a "you're the a-hole" comment to see if anybody disagrees. One person here said, "You're the a-hole. Are you doing anything to encourage her to read on her own too?" To which somebody responded, "I'm an English teacher. Doing things like this does encourage her to read on her own. He is showing her that reading is a worthwhile, pleasurable activity that adults do for fun, not just for work or school. You are modeling that reading can and should be an exciting social activity. A lot of kids hate reading because the available books, quote, at their level, just aren't that interesting. And the way books are leveled in general is super flawed and not a great way to pick a book anyway. You are doing her a huge favor by making a story she loves accessible to her, especially if you are discussing the book with her and asking/answering her questions. Not the a-hole original poster. You're doing great. I'd be thrilled with you if I were your daughter's teacher." Yeah, I agree. And also, I just really feel like the mother is not proposing any solutions here. She is just trying to take away this parent-child bonding activity without proposing a solution. I feel like the two of you could easily work something out where, like I said, hold the book so the daughter can follow along and read with you. Maybe give her the book and ask her to read some portions out loud. There is really no reason the two of you can't compromise if you're both willing to. Next post, am I the a-hole for making fun of a particular genre of books? My wife, 30 female, and I, 31 male, are avid readers. I started a thing with my wife years ago. One day we went to buy books. I grabbed an erotica/romance book and went up to her and read a paragraph with a straight face. She, being a bit shy, turned completely red, and then we laughed our asses off. Sometimes I sent her an audio, a text, or whispered to her a few lines in whatever place just for fun. We've bought books from Maya Banks to Chuck Tingle, I don't know who those people are, so you have an idea. We have a few of them, but you wouldn't notice them because we have a big bookshelf and they're mixed with the others, but someone did. We hosted a small party yesterday and some of her friends saw the books. My wife blurted out that I find them funny and sometimes joke around reading them out loud. Apparently some of them read those books and got mad at me. How dare I make fun of people who read them? I explained that I have nothing against it. It's fine if you like them. I personally find the books funny and not the people who read them. But it didn't matter. They got mad and left early. The others didn't care. I'm not judging or laughing at people right to their faces, but some people got upset and I'm questioning myself. Maybe I'm in the wrong. So I think my verdict for this one depends on what happened after these people left, because I do think it's true that there is a big stigma against reading romance or erotica, especially if you're a woman who reads those things. I think sometimes people talk down to you if you're a woman who likes those kinds of books. And so I could understand if these friends were women, they may be a little extra sensitive to that, and maybe they felt like, oh, this man, he's making fun of me, and that's why they got upset. So if they had a negative reaction but then later apologized, then I would say no one here is an a-hole. I mean, I will admit that when I listen to people's rant reviews about books like this, you know, romance or erotica with really cringy sex scenes, I laugh at it and I'm like, oh my god, this writing is so terrible. I listened to Read with Cindy's review of Verity by Colleen Hoover the other day, and the writing in that one, I laughed. I mean, I did not think it was well written at all. Granted, it's understandable, in my opinion, if some people like those things. You know, they just want something entertaining to read, and that's totally fine. I'm not making fun of them specifically. It's just I don't think the book is well written. And that's my personal opinion. It's okay if you have a different opinion. Also, another key part of this to me is that the original poster and his wife bought these books, right? So they gave the author their money, and therefore, in my opinion, like, how they view the books and what they do with them once they've taken them home, that's up to them. Like, they have compensated the author for their work. So if they want to have a harmless laugh about these books in private in their own free time, that's okay. If they had said something to a friend who liked these books and been intellectually superior, then I would say that they're a-holes. But they really didn't do that here. Everyone is entitled to have their own opinion, and really what matters is that you respect other people's reading preferences. This commenter here, I agree with this commenter. I don't think you were insulting romance/erotica readers, but keep in mind that the romance industry gets a lot of shit for allegedly being badly written, superficial, and unrealistic, all due to sexism. So it's likely they just assumed you felt that way too. To be fair, a lot of the tropes are ridiculous, but that's why people love them. I would probably apologize and stress ridicule wasn't your intent, but I don't think you're inherently wrong for using the books to bond with your wife, especially since you're actually spending money on them and supporting the authors. 100% agree with this commenter. I think, you know, if these are people whose friendships you really value, maybe just reach out to them and say, hey, I am really sorry if this hurt your feelings. It was not our intention to ridicule the people who read these books, and see what they say. If, you know, they're still mad at you and don't want to be friends with you anymore after this, then probably good to just let the friendship go. I can kind of understand where they're coming from, but also at the same time, like, you purchased these books, so you're allowed to use them however you see fit. And I think, you know, if you think they're funny, that's totally okay, as long as you're understanding that other people have different preferences and there's nothing inherently wrong with liking these books. Would like to hear what people think about this one. I could see it being potentially contentious. Finally, am I the a-hole for not reimbursing my nanny for books she bought for my daughter? My daughter, Ruby, is 12. Recently, she has gotten into the original Star Trek shows as well as The Next Generation. Ruby is also a big reader and has started to collect a few of the old Star Trek books that she finds in used bookstores and thrift stores. These books usually cost anywhere from 50 cents to a couple of dollars. My nanny, Tessa, female 22, hangs out with Ruby most days after she gets out of school. Tessa has been our nanny for over a year now, and she and Ruby get along great. Tessa is big into thrifting and will often keep an eye out for the books Ruby wants. This is not typically a problem, and Ruby always pays Tessa back for the books using her allowance. The problem occurred when Tessa went on a family vacation out west. Apparently, she went thrifting during this trip and found some books for Ruby. She texted Ruby asking her if she wanted the books, and Ruby said yes. Well, Tessa returned yesterday with a stack of about 35 books and told Ruby they cost $50. Ruby doesn't have this much money and told Tessa. Tessa then asked me if I would cover the cost. I said no, as Tessa had never asked me about buying Ruby the books, nor was I aware of the conversation between the two of them. Tessa got upset and I asked Ruby to show me the text, which made no mention of price or even the amount of books she was buying. Tessa only said that she found, quote, some books for Ruby. Ruby is on the autism spectrum and does not read between the lines. You have to be very literal with her. Previously, Tessa has never bought Ruby more than 1 or 2 books at a time, so I told her that she should have clarified with Ruby regarding the amount, or double-checked with me before purchasing, and that I would not be paying the $50. Tessa said she could not return the books because they came from the thrift store. I stood firm in my decision and reiterated that she should have asked me first. Tessa left and Ruby is very upset. I know Tessa is a student and does not have a ton of money, so am I the a-hole for not paying Tessa for the books? Then there are some edits that the original poster made. Because some people are asking, I am a single parent to Ruby, and while $50 will not make or break the bank, it is definitely an unexpected expense. I provide Tessa with an extra amount of money each month to spend on whatever she wants to do with Ruby, movies, the mall, etc. If she wanted to spend this fund on books for Ruby, that would have been totally fine, but she had already used it up. For those of you who are asking how I can afford a nanny for Ruby and still have $50 be a large unexpected expense, I do not pay for Tessa's services. Because Ruby is on the spectrum, she is entitled to benefit from our state, including care. The agency I work with pays Tessa. I am not involved in that process at all. And then she also says, I've seen a few comments hinting to me about the fact that I don't support my daughter's reading habit. Please know this is definitely not the case. We are both big readers and frequent patrons of our local library. I am always supportive of Ruby getting new books. Now, the official verdict on this post was that OP is the a-hole, and I actually disagree with this. I think both people handled this situation poorly. First of all, Tessa. Why did she not say how many books she was getting and what they cost? I really don't understand why she did not think this was important to mention, because one, $50 is a lot to spend on books for most people, let alone a 12-year-old. Also, the fact that this child apparently has autism and needs things to be expressed to them very literally only adds to my confusion regarding Tessa's actions here. Like, you know that this young girl has autism, you know how she needs to be communicated with, and you just didn't mention to her that the books were $50. Where is this 12-year-old supposed to get $50 from? Like, do you know any 12-year-olds that have $50 lying around? I mean, when I was 12, I thought that $50 was a whole lot of money, and I would not just spend all of that so willy-nilly. At the same time, if I was the mother, I think what I would have done is I would have just given Tessa the $50, and I would have said, hey, I really appreciate you thinking of my daughter, but next time, can you please tell her how much money you are spending, because you know that she's on the spectrum, you know how she needs to be spoken to, and I really don't appreciate you expecting my daughter to pay you that much money. You know she can't afford it. So I appreciate the thought, but next time, let's work on our communication here. I think that would have been a better way to handle it, especially if Tessa and Ruby are so close, and that's a relationship that you want to build and continue. Like, because if you're just getting into this fight with the nanny, with the kid in the middle, that's really not fair to your daughter either. Let's read some of the comments on this one. Okay, so the top comment actually doesn't give a verdict. The top commenter said, sometimes it's better to salvage an important relationship than to be right. I agree with that. Pay for the books. Let Tessa know that you can't do so in the future, though, without talking about it. Tell her how much you appreciate her thoughtfulness now and always. Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. Like, I think Tessa did not handle this well, but, you know, do you really want to start an argument with her and potentially ruin this relationship because of that? Like, I don't think that's a good idea. This commenter said, no a-holes here, in my opinion. Tessa shouldn't have bought so many without checking with you as the parent, but she was trying to do a good thing. Pay for the books this time, but then tell Tessa that all future things like this must be approved by you and not Ruby, or set up a limitation. 100% agree. Another person said, yeah, as a Trekkie and someone who tears through books, I definitely feel for the nanny. And what a nice thing she did. As someone who only has $10 at the moment, I would definitely need a heads up if I was about to spend an extra $50. I definitely salvage the relationship though. I don't have kids, but I'm sure a good nanny is hard to come by. Yeah, I agree. Definitely salvage the relationship, but at the same time, I can sympathize because some people just can't afford to spend $50 on books. Like for some people, that's just not an option for them. This commenter said, you're the a-hole. Jesus, you're stingy. You're blessed with a very thoughtful nanny who thinks of your child even when she's not at work. There was a misunderstanding about the cost. Was there? All you had to do to behave decently was pay her, but ask her to please confirm amounts with Ruby in the future, and that if it happens again, you won't be able to pay for it. I take issue with this commenter calling the poster stingy because you don't know this person's financial situation. This parent could be living paycheck to paycheck, and I think it's understandable that perhaps to them $50 is a lot of money. And like, listen, I think Tessa probably did have very good intentions, and it's sweet that she was thinking about Ruby while she was on vacation, but I don't understand why anyone would think a 12-year-old just has 50 bucks lying around, you know? So I really think both people could have handled this better, and saying you're stingy could come across as a bit classist to me, you know? I think maybe some people are assuming that the poster is rich due to the term nanny, but they said, you know, this was something that their child is provided with due to being on the spectrum, so I don't think you can really assume that they're well off financially. All right, everyone, so that is it. Do let me know your thoughts on these posts in the comment section. Would you like me to do this type of video again, maybe with writing related posts next time? Do let me know in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. My social media links are down below if you want to follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, or be my friend on Goodreads. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you next time.